What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hassan's Hits. Welcome to episode 5. If you have not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Follow along for more content. If you're a new listener, follow along on Spotify. I appreciate it very much. Yesterday, Dana White announced a few fights coming up. UFC 293 and UFC 294. Now, UFC 293 is in Sydney, Australia, and of course, it's going to be headlined by Israel Adesanya. We know by now that Dricus du Plessis took care of Robert Whittaker, much to my dismay. He took care of him in, dramatic fashion, UFC 290. The next thing is to make Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis. Now, we did have the whole confrontation. We've had a back and forth. This build-up has been great. If we're talking the fight game, Dricus du Plessis starting this whole thing by saying he's trying to become the first African-born bred UFC champion, throwing under the bus Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, Francis Ngannou. He's basically saying that he was born in South Africa, he trains out of South Africa, and he stays in South Africa. And so, he made that his whole shtick, and that was his claim to fame, basically. There's nothing wrong with him saying he's African. He was born in South Africa, and he lives in South Africa. There's nothing wrong with him saying he's African. It's a lot of things wrong with him implying that Kamaru Usman, Francis Ngannou, and Israel Adesanya are not African champions, and basically implying that they're not true Africans. He is. Now, we all know, Dricus du Plessis can be African, but, he's not. We know Israel Adesanya, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, the list goes on and on. They're more African than him. We know this. He started this whole thing, and then, he backtracked saying that he never said that they weren't true African champions, which he did say. There's literal evidence showing he said that. So that becomes a problem all on its own, But we get past that. UFC 290, Dricus du Plessis takes care of business. And Israel Adesanya's cage side. He comes into the octagon. He confronts him, in a menacing manner, and you have Dricus du Plessis saying he's no brother of his. He says, I might be African, but I'm no brother of yours, right? To Israel Adesanya. And Israel Adesanya had a lot to drink that night. It has to be. It 100% has to be. He's just slurring his speeches. He called it 36 in me, 26 in me. The whole program is 23 in me. And he butchered it like 3 or 4 times. So you have that whole situation going on with Adesanya. And, the main thing here is they set up the fight, basically. Israel Adesanya tells him to get ready and that he's coming for him. Dricus du Plessis basically is ready for the fight. He's telling Israel Adesanya that he's ready for him, that he's, looking to dethrone the champion. What we know here is Israel Adesanya is one of the greatest champions the UFC has ever seen. And he is, obviously becoming a huge star in the UFC. And he's a tough puzzle to solve. Now, Alex Pereira has solved that puzzle numerous times. But Israel Adesanya is a phenomenal fighter. So Dricus du Plessis puts himself out there, and he takes care of business. Now we have a backstory to this fight. We've got a huge fight on our hands in which there's all these racial implications, and Dricus du Plessis has called out Israel Adesanya, saying he's not a true African champion. He will be the first African champion, which obviously is laughable, but it's a great build-up to a fight. Now, I say all of this to say Dricus du Plessis will not be fighting Israel Adesanya on UFC 293 in Sydney, Australia. Dricus du Plessis has some sort of injury and will not be ready, he's basically implying that this is too fast of a turnaround for him, even though he took care of business against Robert Whittaker and did not suffer too much damage in that fight. He was saying post-fight that he was ready to go again if he had to that night. And so that same Dricus du Plessis now has an injury, too fast of a turnaround for him. And we've all seen the story before. We've all seen, the guy who respects the guy so much. In this case, the respected guy being Israel Adesanya, that he is not willing to have a fast turnaround or too quick of a camp. He's trying to be 100%, not have any nagging injuries going up against Israel Adesanya, because he knows how great Israel Adesanya is. However, we've seen this go completely left too many times. By the way, we have Sean Strickland stepping in to fight Israel Adesanya. Let me tell you guys right now, Sean Strickland's getting washed. He is getting completely destroyed by Israel Adesanya. This is not, this is not going to be a competitive fight. Israel Adesanya is basically going into a tune-up fight against Sean Strickland, in which we will find out which big fight he will have next. Now, it's supposed to be Dricus du Plessis, right? And let me explain how this could go left. And we've seen it go left many times when this has happened to other guys in Dricus du Plessis' position. So Dricus du Plessis needs more time. He's taking care of nagging injuries. He can't have a quick turnaround. What happens if Israel Adesanya obviously beats Sean Strickland, but Israel Adesanya wants to take like 5-6 months off? What do you do with Dricus du Plessis then? What does he do? Does he wait 10 months, a year in between fights? Most of the time, that's not what happens. What happens is the UFC will offer another high-ranked opponent. And if Dricus du Plessis loses that fight, he has lost a chance to not only become UFC champion, a chance to face one of the best champions the UFC has ever seen, and one of the most lucrative fights he could have. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I don't know the extent of du Plessis' injury. However, we would have heard by now if it's an ACL tear or, a ruptured Achilles, something that is going to sideline him for like 12 months or more. My assumption here is that it's a nagging injury. Dricus du Plessis is, losing a lot by doing this, in my opinion. And, Israel Adesanya knows he's completely frustrated, and he's put time in to build up this fight himself. And he wants to take care of du Plessis and prove that he is the true African champion, right? Credit to MMA Crazy for this video. Israel Adesanya completely went off on Dricus du Plessis.
I don't even know how to start this, bro. Dricus de you bitch. Oh, all you had to do is put on some gloves. I was ready to go again. No, you weren't. You're a bitch. That's why I'm not taking this fight. Your foot sore. My knee was jacked 2 weeks from my last fight. Guess what I did? I showed up because that's what a champion does. Championship caliber. Built different. A lot of you fighters talk about, oh, I'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. No, you won't. I do. Alex Volkanovski does. We're built different. I'm at the gym right now, about to get some work. So I'm fighting in Sydney. I don't give a who. Dickless, Dupusi, Dickless. Off. You're out. Strickland, you're in. Let's do the man dance. Show you how to really dance. Yeah, but yeah, I title what you guys talking about. I can fight. No, you can't. The pussy, bitch.
Yeah, so as y'all can see, Israel Adesanya frustrated, not happy with Dricus du Plessis, who obviously spent so much time building up this fight and, disrespecting Kamaru, Izzy, and Francis Ngannou on his way to making himself a viable option to fight Israel Adesanya. And then he completely threw it all away. When it was right there, the opportunity's right there, he needs more time. Now, if it's a huge injury, I take all of this back and I apologize. However, my inclination is it's not a huge injury. And I feel like Dricus du Plessis is losing a huge opportunity doing this. Dana also announced UFC 294 Abu Dhabi, obviously the main event, as you might have heard by now, is Islam Makhachev versus Oliveira. 2. You can't go wrong, booking Charles Oliveira for a title fight. I'm not at all, downplaying Charles Oliveira going into this fight. However, in my opinion, I think it would have been more exciting, if we were going to get Islam versus Leon Edwards for a champion versus champion fight, or if we were going to get Islam versus Alex Volkanovski too. That's just my opinion. Now, what we also had announced on this card, which is going to be a huge card in Abu Dhabi, of course. Abu Dhabi is quickly becoming, a huge destination for the UFC. They signed that long-term deal out there, to have at least one card a year there. Khamzat Chimaev will be back against Paulo Costa. Now, I could not be more excited for this fight. There was rumblings of Paulo Costa getting cut by the UFC, and then we just get this huge announcement from Dana. If you have been paying attention, there has been tension there. There has been back and forth. There has been a build-up for well over a year. We get the debut of Khamzat Chimaev at 185, middleweight debut, and we get Paulo Costa now finally facing the guy he has been tormenting online for well over a year. I love when the UFC makes fights that make sense and fights that have a backstory and that will get fans interested. This fight will get fans interested, and you put it on a huge card like this. This is a very, very interesting fight, and it's going to tell us a lot about Khamzat Chimaev, who we saw when he jumped all the way to fighting a number 2 guy in Gilbert Burns, who is not that big of a guy. We're talking about Gilbert Burns, who fought at 155 at one point. But Gilbert Burns is a dog, and he, obviously was ranked number 2 in the welterweight division. Khamzat Chimaev jumps the line, fights Gilbert Burns, and has his toughest fight ever. They went to war. And, we found out that Khamzat Chimaev, he's got some holes in his game, that guys can exploit. Paulo Costa, who, quite literally could fight at heavyweight. That's how big Paulo Costa is. The dude looks like a bodybuilder. And he's got power in both hands. And he has devastating body kicks. He's got great stand-up. And, Khamzat Chimaev's path in this fight has to be to get a hold of Paulo Costa and not keep this fight on the feet. If this fight is on the feet and Paulo Costa doesn't find himself on the ground, Khamzat Chimaev is in for a long night. In the stand-up game, Paulo Costa is not playing around. Khamzat Chimaev does not need to take a chance, standing up with Paulo Costa. It's too much of a risk. Recently, Draymond Green was on, I believe, Pat Bev's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. He said that, basically implied that Jordan Poole said something really disrespectful to him and, challenged him as a man.
I don't just hit people. Like, I've been in this league 11 years. I ain't just hit nobody. You know what I'm saying? And so dialogue, happens, and dialogue happens over the course of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you usually ain't just triggered by something like that fast,
right.
To that degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody on my team triggering me, in an instant. And so dialogue, of course, happens over time. And
at this point, we've got to put this incident behind us. Honestly, I believe Jordan Poole needs to talk about this incident and just put it behind him. If he said something disrespectful and challenged Draymond as a man, and as Draymond stated, he's got to stand on it. He's got to let us know, like that. Listen, we've seen Draymond Green do absolutely ridiculous things where it's just like, it's not even within the realm of the game of basketball. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like when he stomps on Sabonis after Sabonis grabbed his legs. And it's like, yeah, he shouldn't have grabbed his legs, but you're going to try to just literally crush this guy's ribs because he grabbed your legs while you're trying to run off. If you fell, the refs would have seen it and he would have got a technical. He would have, he might have gotten thrown out of the game. But like when you do something egregious like that, and we've seen Draymond do egregious things in this league. We've seen him do it time and time again where it's not even a basketball play. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's like Draymond Green has been in too many incidents where we know he crosses the line. We know he reacts in a volatile way when it's not even that serious of a situation. I want Jordan Poole to come out with his side of the story and tell us what he said to Draymond Green. Now, he doesn't have to, but the longer he keeps that to himself, the longer this, incident is just gonna be surrounding him. No one's gonna not talk about this incident as long as people don't know what actually was said and what led up to it. If Jordan Poole did, say something disrespectful to Draymond Green and question his manhood, and as Draymond Green says he's got to stand on it, I'm with Draymond Green on this. If that is the case, I'm with Draymond Green on this. You guys know what it is, man. You cannot cross that line. There's lines you can't cross. And if Jordan Poole did cross that line, Draymond Green is within every right to punch him in his face and have that situation unfold. If Jordan Poole disrespected Draymond Green as a man, he's got to stand on it. Draymond Green has every right to walk up to him and punch him in his face, because that's what happens. When you disrespect someone as a man, you disrespect their manhood, you got what's coming to you. That's just how it is. That's the real world. That's how it is. We would need evidence. We would need evidence. But that's all I'm going to say on that. Okay, so let's end the show on this. Okay, so you obviously have the big dog, the guy who opened the doors and just, started the floodgates. You have Cristiano Ronaldo there. You have Kante. You have Firmino. You have Di Maria. You have Benzema. You have Henderson. You have Mahrez. You have Neymar rumored to be headed over there. You have Sergio Ramos rumored to be headed over there. There is an absurd amount of money being spent, and it's being spent in the right way. Let me explain. Now, you have many critics saying that, guys are losing their legacy. They're headed over there. Where's the ethics in the sport? Well, if you guys want to pay these guys, the man in the arena, if you want to pay Cristiano Ronaldo $1 billion, if you want to pay Kante $300-400 million, if you want to pay Benzema same amount of money, $300, $400, $500, $600 million, if you are willing to offer Lionel Messi $1.3 billion, then you can talk about the ethics of the sport. Then you can talk about guys ruining their legacy. You have all of this money in the bank, but when it comes to the players, it's always like, hey, we'll give you enough. You go do your job and make sure you do it well. Obviously, oil money, a lot of money being put behind this, right? It's the right way to do it. They're paying these guys what they are worth. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing the greatest players to ever play the game, and you're seeing some of the all-time greats headed over there because they're getting paid what they are worth. Leo Messi chose to come to the MLS for various reasons. You talk about Leo Messi is now in conjunction with the MLS. He is on the board. He is earning money anytime, MLS makes money, anytime Apple TV makes money. He is earning an absurd amount of money coming over to the MLS. So put Leo Messi aside. He made his choice, thinking about after retiring, his future, his grandkids' future, all sorts of things. He's doing the right thing. However, when you look at, the Saudi League, and you look at them paying the players what they are worth, how is that wrong? How is that unethical? And these guys are, losing their what legacy are you losing when the team that you're putting on your back, doing everything you can, bringing people into the stadium, your shirts selling out. You're doing everything for this club. And when it's time to pay up, we're going to give you a small percentage that should take care of you. And that's a lot of money to you, but we'll go ahead and keep the rest of the money. That's how it's done. And now you have a league in which they're saying, Ronaldo, you're worth $1 billion. We'll give you $1 billion. Just come over here, play for like 3 seasons. We'll give you $1 billion. And you expect Cristiano Ronaldo to turn that down? You expect some of the best players in the world. You expect Mahrez to be like, yeah, he'll stay in Man City. And when you look at that club and you look at them and you go, well, can you match that? Because these guys are paying you what you're worth. Now, your job is to come back to that club and say, can you match that? Because now you know what you're worth. When they tell you no, you have every right to go play for that league. And, the way it's going right now, we're seeing a shift in the sport. We're seeing a new era, and we're seeing a league being built that's going to be, very credible very soon. You're going to have some of the best players in the world playing in that league. They're going to get, TV rights. They're going to become even bigger, and, there's no way around it. You've got to pay guys what they are worth. For these other leagues who are complaining and saying, it's ruining the sport, all sorts of things. You can literally put an end to this by doing one thing. Pay the players what they are worth. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to do that, you better start recruiting, because it's going to look like exactly what you do to the smaller leagues. The Premier League, they look at the smaller leagues and they go, oh, this guy, we like that you cultivated him, you brought him up, he's becoming a great player, too bad. We're going to offer him a lot of money, he's going to come over here now, he's going to play in our league. And now you guys can go recruit and build up the next star for us so we can take him. That's what the Saudi League is doing right now. To the Premier League, to, La Liga, like you name it. And so don't cry about it. Pay the players what they are worth, and they will stay. It's as simple as that. All right, so we've reached the end of the show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys watching. If you're watching, hit subscribe, like, share. Get it out to as many people as you can. I appreciate the support very much. See you guys in episode 6. Peace.